Alright, so it's time for the, I guess I should put this in quotes, monthly-ish Q&A. Granted, I've done so many Q&As where there was 2 in a single month, so even though we're closing in on 2 months, I'm going to still consider it monthly-ish. If you have any questions you ever like to see answered in a video, even though, yes, I answer a lot in the comment section, you can always leave comments, and if I think they're good enough, I will save them for a future video. So let's kick it off and let's see where the questions lead us. What are some series that you think have got way too much hate or more hate than they should receive? For me personally, I definitely think Attack on Titan has received too much criticism and hate, although that may seem unavoidable due to the nature of the series. I also think that Bleach and maybe even Fairy Tail are hated a bit too much. I mean, to be honest, I think probably hit it right on the head. I mean, I'm going to try to make this as spoiler-free as possible, because even though we're approaching the final part of the Attack on Titan anime next year, I don't want to give spoilers, but I think most people know that there was initially a lot of pushback for Attack on Titan. The thing is even though the initial chapter felt a little underwhelming in the way that you really felt like there needed to be more content, Isayama ended up releasing some extra pages, which honestly basically solved most of what I wanted to see. I mean, yes, maybe my headcanon didn't go where I wanted, but that's the issue with popular things. It doesn't matter how good something ends, there's always going to be pushback. And even though, if you actually look at a lot of the polls that were taken that had hundreds of thousands of votes, most people were in the fine to like it camp, even though there was a very vocal, very upset minority. And I've always said, when One Piece eventually ends, you're going to see the same thing that happened with Attack on Titan. Doesn't matter if Oda completely nails it, like, there's going to be pushback because the One Piece will not live up to what everyone thinks the One Piece is, right? So, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing with the internet. It's great because you get all these voices, but honestly, here's the thing, if I hated something as much as some people like to claim Isayama ruined their life with how Attack on Titan ended, I'd just go touch some grass, man. Like, literally just, there's so much beauty in the world, let's just go deal with that. You can voice your criticisms, but some people, the hate something fictional is just, it ain't healthy in my opinion. Got another one from same commenter, always leaving good comments. What are some of your least favorite tropes? If not already asked, do you have favorite ecchi anime, and what are some of your favorite series timelines? My least favorite tropes, I mean, here's the thing, I really don't have anything that is like, I would say I can't watch that if like a show's there where I'm going to immediately hate it. Like, definitely, if you look at a lot of the early 2000s anime in terms of how, like, rom-coms were handled, I think it was a lot more cringy than how, like, rom-coms are handled now with how the main character syndrome was handled back in the day. But like with, you know, if you were to ask me, am I a sports anime guy? No, but I'm reviewing Blue Lock. Yeah, I love Haikyuu. I love Megalobox, right? So for me, it's never about, like, I sometimes will say, okay, yeah, I'm really sick of this, like the way some people say they're sick of isekai, right? But for me, it's really all about how it handles, so I don't really have necessarily something that I hate, but definitely, I think the early 2000s, like the first 10 years of that era of rom-coms, the main characters weren't as good as I think they're handled today, which maybe that's a hot take, I don't know, but that's how I feel for sure. My favorite ecchi anime is probably High School DxD. Granted, I never watched the newest season when they kind of changed the art style and everything. It just didn't appeal to me, but I liked what I watched up to that point, and I mean, I guess Harem in the Labyrinth, which is a recent one, and you could consider that because they actually did go into it. I mean, High School DxD was just a very funny show. It was just ridiculous, and I think Harem actually had a very interesting mechanic system alongside, you know, obviously the Bow Chicka Bow Wow and all that kind of fun stuff. And in terms of timelines, I'm not into that stuff personally, so got no answer there. Anime and weeb/otaku culture has lost a bit of its soul by being loved by more normies. I just like more people to discuss my passions with, but some jerks are snobby elitists. I mean, I probably have a very similar opinion as you, and I think I probably have an unpopular one. But granted, the way the community's built, I don't think I'll have pitchforks, but maybe some pushback. The thing is I've never really related to that overly weeb culture. I'm a hardcore anime guy. I have tons of figures, tons of posters and paintings of anime all over my wall. But the thing is I've always found it a little creepy with how, like, that very hardcore otaku where, like, we don't need women, or we're like legit just our body pillow is our waifus, right? Like, I'll bait that crowd in with titles sometimes for views, but for me, it's kind of socially awkward is how I'd put it. So I like the fact that stuff like Attack on Titan, the fact that, Chainsaw Man will get mainstream, because honestly, as much as every fandom sucks no matter which medium you're a part of, in general, I don't think it's as socially awkward when the mainstream crowd overshadows maybe the hardcore, because there's just, when you think about how comic book nerds used to be presented back in the day, it's kind of how, like, back in the day anime fans were presented, but now, like, Marvel's the biggest movie franchise in the world with their MCU, and most people are fairly normal when they're talking about it. And I think there's just sometimes that passion becomes a little creepy from my point of view. So, the more people to talk with, the more potential you'll find like-minded people to interact with. But most importantly, I don't think anime fans get as bad of a name as they used to. And sometimes I think rightfully we got a bad name because of how stuff was handled. But overall, I don't think it's a bad thing personally. What is your best way to motivate and keep yourself positive? Do you have some kind of mantra, or listen to music, watch a video, or eat a snack to brighten the mood? I recently found myself in a bit of a slump and wanted to ask how you deal with it. I mean, dealing with the cesspool that is the internet is mentally draining. It completely is. And the thing is like, the only thing you can do is you have to learn to disconnect yourself from your screen, and most importantly, take care of your body. I've mentioned in previous videos, but a healthy workout routine, you don't need to be buff, you don't need to be ripped, but a consistent 5-day-a-week or 4-day-a-week, 20 to 40 minute session of exercise, cardio, whatever you need to do, and just going outside. Like, I really don't find outdoor activities amusing, but, because I drive my fiance to work, I'm always going out every day, right? And just that little separation, and just sometimes going on the balcony and just looking at the world, just like that mental relief and taking care of your body. The amount of people, and especially in the anime community, you'll see this, how many people, like, that self-hatred and that self-owning, it's like almost praised in a lot of ways. But the reason people do that is they don't feel good about themselves. If you have a healthy exercise regimen, if you eat well, and I'm not talking about you need to do the horrible diets that don't let you have carbs, like, just don't eat junk food and only eat junk food. Cook some meals. It's cheaper and just goes a long way to make you just feel generally better. But everyone's gonna feel like shit. I feel like shit sometimes. Everyone does. But the more you go about having discipline with eating better, take your vitamins, have a exercise routine, and go outside from time to time. And some people hate this. Mute people. Mute as many people who annoy you as possible, and just connect with people that make you happy, and then in return, I guarantee you're gonna add years to your life and feel better in general. In case you're running out of interesting questions, I got one to follow up. I fell in love with anime because of its portrayal of evil. Not an antagonist, I've seen plenty of amazing villains in the West. No, I mean evil protagonists like Light, Ainz, Tanya, etc. So my question's, what is your favorite evil protagonist? Why do you think they're evil, and did they make you question your own morality? Once again, you kind of hit the two characters I'd probably bring up, which would be Light and Ainz. Ainz being from Overlord, Light from Death Note. Death Note's an interesting one because if you've watched either of my two videos, both dissecting the episode when character dies, I'm gonna leave it spoiler free there, as well as the moral questions of does the end justify the means. Light's a very interesting character. I'll leave it linked in the cards if you want to watch that video. I think it does a good job of answering why, because I don't feel like emphasizing that here. But Ainz is a good one because Ainz is that neutral state, but he literally conquers and commits multiple genocides because of how the story of Overlord goes. Like, you're literally watching a bad side conquer the world, and even if sometimes the bad side you can make arguments of why they're doing good things, like, how many genocides does it take before a majority of the Overlord fandoms understands, like, we ain't the good guys, Ben. I mean, it was funny at one point when I was covering Overlord, someone got mad at me saying, no, because Ainz is the main character we're following, he's a good guy. The fact that some people legit don't know the difference between a protagonist, an antagonist, a villain, and a hero is kind of baffling, but those two are definitely the best in my opinion, at least from what I can think off the top of my head. What is your view on violence in anime and the trend of bait and switch of genre? I don't mind violence in action, but there seems to be this celebration of gore and cruelty that just doesn't sit right with me. I know everyone has their own preference and not everything is for everyone, so some may say just to watch something else, but honestly it's getting hard to get away from it. First thing first, I do want to make an emphasis of this. It won't change how some people will act in the comments. I think you're perfectly acceptable to have that opinion, even if I disagree personally. And as you mentioned, not everything is for everyone. But for me personally, I'm the type of person who the more violent or cruel, as you put it, things are, is the more interesting it is to watch and discuss. Like, as an example, one of my favorite games is Stardew Valley, one of the most peaceful games you could probably play. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm more interested about the dozens of new horror, thriller, disgusting games coming out in a year, and most importantly, next year, I'm more interested in the Resident Evil 4 remake, Silent Hill, the Dead Space remake, right? Than I am about all the farming games. That's kind of how I am with anime. I like my simplistic stuff. I like my normal stuff, but the more shows that I think are gonna be this, but then turn, ooh, that's pretty gross, I like it personally. I find it more exciting, and I think in general people do, especially with how quickly the early stages of the internet was kind of desensitized to violence and stuff, like whether video games or media. So for me, I love it. I don't think anime, honestly, I'm the type of person, if you wanted to make everything an isekai and everything violent, I'm okay with that. That's just how I am personally. But I do understand that, yes, it would be difficult to get away because a lot of things that are popular, they get that way because it's like, oh shit, look at that crazy death. So for me, no, but I do see where you're coming from, but I like the violent, what can I say? Has there ever been a show that was highly recommended to you that you tried to get into but couldn't enjoy? I mean, in general, there's every season, right? Like the number of times people will be like, oh, you should watch Do It Yourself, or you should watch, these shows that are kind of cute and do this and that. But there's never been a show, I think, that has been popular and I'm talking about popular to the point of Attack on Titan, Dragon Ball, or something like that I've been like, damn, I don't like that. I've been like, oh, I can go without watching that. But never to the point, because here's the thing, I've always been the type of person that has said, if something's popular, the general person is going to like it, right? Because it just connects at a very basic level that anyone can find enjoyment out of it. So the stuff that I typically tend to not like that gets recommended is recommended by 3 people, not the stuff that's recommended by 1,000 people sort of a thing. When Fairy Tail was popping off, yeah, I enjoyed Fairy Tail and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where controversy sells on the internet, I know, but here's the thing. If something's popular, I believe it's popular for a reason, and it hits a nice spot that I can find myself enjoying it. And honestly, I just try not to live life upset at things, so in return, I just never really find myself saying, damn, I hate this, but more so, it's fine, like Dragon Ball as an example. Never really got into it, but the stuff I watch, I could easily have seen myself back in the day, binging that had it been on TV and stuff. If you can make a video game out of your favorite anime, what one would you choose and what genre would you go for? The one thing that I was really happy with, and they kind of stopped, was the Attack on Titan games started getting really good. Or not really good, but when you compare what an anime game can be, I think there's still a lot of potential, and I really would love to see Insomniac, who handles the Spider-Man games right now, do an Attack on Titan game, because that maneuverability and that type of open world would be damn perfect. But honestly, I think most games would work best in a turn-based or a turn-based system in a lot of ways. Action system could turn pretty much any great game into something. I know you have the giant epic games the Warriors games, Fire Emblem's done it to Berserk and all that stuff, but I think right now I would still go Attack on Titan, but through Insomniac, because I think the team that's currently have done the Attack on Titan games did about all they can do, and it doesn't feel as polished as I think it can be. But an Insomniac Attack on Titan game would be pretty damn awesome. Why do you drop shows without mentioning that you're dropping it? Because sometimes you wait a week for doing a double review next time, which can lead to someone just thinking that you're waiting an extra week when you have dropped it. Now, here's the thing with that. I don't drop a lot of shows. When you look at a lot of channels who drop things if they don't get enough views, I typically will last 12 episodes before doing that, right? But sometimes it's just simply put, a new season kicks off and, I have plans to, I'll just do a video when it's closer to being done because they get so many views and it's better to gamble on a new show that will get me probably the same amount of views, such as, a couple of, right? That show, I had plans to do a video at the end saying, here's my final thoughts. I really like the show, but unfortunately, by the time I got around to catching up, it was too late, no one would care about a video. So, from time to time, it happens naturally because new shows start up or I get behind and I just don't feel like catching up. But most importantly, the reason I don't really mention it outside of Twitter is because people just then get upset at you because how dare you? For some reason, if you don't mention it, those same people won't mention it either. But if you were to make a post, not even just a video, a post, they would bitch at you and it's just weird. So I just avoid that side of the internet in general. But that's it for this video. leave any questions if you have any, and we'll do it again next month, probably around the same time next month. So see you next time. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't been new around here and you want to see more. So see ya.